Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Chats and Chapters podcast. I am still very excited to be bringing the podcast back. And here's our first episode kind of in our new direction. I just wanted to do a little bit of an introduction on editing, kind of where I'm coming from with it, everything like that. So today's episode is 5 reasons why I am not the right editor for you. And I think that it is incredibly important to find an editor that you vibe with, that you like talking to, that you are comfortable with going through your baby, through your manuscript and giving you feedback on it, all of that. So within editing, within stories, within storytelling, within poetry, anything like that, movies, shows, everything is very subjective. Certain books that I love, other people can't stand. And other books that people love, I'm like, no, that wasn't great. Movie reviews, everything is mixed. You're going to get so many different opinions on things. And a lot of that stems from our personal experiences. Everyone has their own personal experience, and that influences how they think about things, how they perceive things, how they take things in, how they pick things apart, how they love things or dislike them. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind when you are looking for an editor. Because when you hire an editor to go through your manuscript for developmental edits, they're looking for the same things. I've heard horror stories from clients who have hired bad editors in the past. Good professional editors are looking for the same thing. They're looking for structure. They're looking for character development. They're looking for completeness. They are looking for the flow of it, not word wise, because that's line editing, but they're looking for the same aspects. And the way that they will give you that feedback and present it to you is probably going to be a little bit different. Are you going to get a chapter by chapter breakdown? Are you going to get a editorial letter? Like these are it's things that you get, but it's also, do you need that? How much input do you want? If you're brand new, are you looking for a little more input than someone who this is their 6th book and they've gone through the self-edits and they know how to write their stories. They know the flow of their stories, how they want their stories to go. So I think it's really important to know yourself as the writer, as the author, and then also to find an editor that will match that. Because while, like I said, they are looking for the same aspects, they're looking at the same components, the way that they deliver that information and the way that it is brought to your attention is going to be a little bit different. So with all of that being said, we're going to get into the 5 reasons I am not the right editor for you. So reason number 1, you want your manuscript returned the next day. I had a developmental edit in July. That took me about 15 hours to read through while taking notes. And then I had a line edit in August that took me about 27 hours to complete. So it's a disservice to yourself and your story and your readers to just push your book out without giving it the time and love that it needs to be the best you can make it. Writing your first draft is going to take time, and it depends on everyone. Obviously, some people take quite a bit of time to get through their first draft. Some people write it in like 5, 6, 7 weeks. So that depends, but it still takes time. Editing takes time. You going through your revisions, you taking the time to reread it, to move stuff around, to figure out on your own kind of what doesn't fit, what you don't like that takes time. And professional editing takes time. Sifting through my feedback, what resonates, what doesn't, all of these decisions should not be made in a rush. So professional editing takes time. I have to spend time in your story. I have to get to know your characters. I have to reread things. I take notes. I do chapter summaries. I have sections for characters and the plot and kind of how things are moving, for pacing, like what are your readers going to expect? There's so many things that go into it. I'm probably juggling like 2 to 4 documents with every edit that I do. And then I usually have a note on my iPad where I'm like writing little stuff to come back and double check on once I've done it. And then you have to think about doing the final pass, going back through everything, making sure everything is clean, the comments are cleaned up, this, that, and the other, deleted. If like I will ask questions as I go, of course. And like if a question that I asked on page 10 is answered on page 200, then like I'm going to delete that comment because I have the answer. So professional editing takes a lot of time. You're looking at getting back an editorial letter, and depending on what kind of edit you get, future steps of what to look for, everything like that. It's important to note that sifting through the feedback when you get it back from your editor also takes time. If you hire an editor to do a line edit and then a copy edit and your proofread, you want to take full advantage of those 2 to 3 to 4 weeks between the line edit and the copy edit to make sure that the suggestions resonate with you or they don't. And asking within the line edit, like if I don't understand what the author is trying to get across, what they're really going for, like I can't make any adjustments here. So I just have to highlight it, leave a comment and say, hey, I'm not 100% sure where you're trying to go with it. Maybe like clean this up. Are you meaning this or that? And like, this is a direction you could take if you are kind of meaning this. And then here's another direction you could take if you're trying to go this direction. So sifting through the feedback takes time. You have to figure out what resonates, what makes sense within your story, what doesn't. And like these decisions shouldn't be made in a rush. So I think it's very important to reach out to your editors before you need their eyeballs on your manuscript. And like I said, make sure you vibe with them, have a few conversations. I do calls with all of my clients before because I want to make sure like we can have a conversation because I'm like, we're going to spend time together. Like it's on like Donkey Kong once I get your manuscript and I'm leaving you feedback and up in your business. And like, I want to know all the things. So I'm definitely not your editor if you want the fastest possible turnaround time, because I spend a lot of time in my manuscripts and really digging in and giving as many options and questions and possibilities, everything as possible to make sure that even if what I say doesn't resonate with the author, that hopefully it will like branch off into an idea that they really like. So yeah, I vote no to overnight services. The second reason I am not the right editor for you is that you are not open to hearing about your novel's weaknesses. It seems obvious, but in order to improve, you must be open to less than stellar feedback. And this is never, this sucks, start over. It is pointing things out that don't quite make sense, things that maybe you know as the author, because obviously you wrote it, you created the world, you created the characters, or the characters are like maybe the female main character is based off your best friend and you know that's how your best friend would react. But like it doesn't make sense to the readers. It doesn't come across on the page. And so, you know, things that are cliche, they aren't believable or they don't make sense in the context that they are written. It's not about taking every piece of feedback that you get, whether it's from friends and family, from beta readers, alpha readers, your editor, anything like that. It's not taking everything. It is really being open to the new ideas, the new directions, the new possibilities, because you spend so much time as a writer within your story, in your world, staring at the same document that you kind of are like a pony, like my mom would say, a pony noni, and you have the blinders on and you can only see so much. And it is incredibly helpful to, like I said, get other people's opinions. And even if what they say doesn't resonate and you're like, no, that's not really, like if you're writing a series and I asked you a question about something and you're like, no, because that in particular would not make sense in book 3, then you ignore that feedback and move on with the rest of it. So I always tell my authors that reject and accept anything that you feel like it. Like it's your story, you know it best. This is just my input, my questions, my thoughts. And that goes along with, you know, writing requires a tough skin and being open to feedback. Like I said, even if you don't accept all of it, having an open mind, not taking maybe a negative comment or feedback from an editor, from a beta reader, anything like that, friends, family, as like a personal attack. It's not a personal attack. And it's so important you're getting, especially feedback from an editor that you paid for, like really take it in. Going through that feedback takes time. So I always offer calls after assessments and developmental edits, but only a week or two after you have your manuscript back. Like I want you to go through everything. You can leave yourself notes. If something is obvious and you're like, oh yeah, like that totally works, like accept that. But if you're on the fence and need to brainstorm some, like I have that call, but we're not jumping on a call the day after when you stayed up all night until 4 a.m. to go through everything. You haven't really had time to sit with anything. None of it has sunk in, and it's not going to be a productive use of either of our time. I think it's incredibly important. Be open to feedback. I know that is obvious, but I have seen it. I've seen it. The third reason that I am not the editor for you is that you want to mindlessly accept changes and publish ASAP. Most of my comments are questions. Most of every single comment that I have, unless it is very black and white grammar, you know, like I changed this because it's more common in American English and this word is British English. So like if you want to keep it this way, like you totally can, just letting you know that's why I changed it. If it's not something like super duper black and white and it's super easy, most of my comments are questions. So did you mean this? If you did, change blank above. If there's an inconsistency, for example, I found this a few times in a couple, like if we are talking about the right eye versus the left eye and we're talking about the same thing, but one is left and one is right, which one is correct? And then I'll highlight where it's mismatched and be like, if this is wrong, then fix the one above. Would something that you brought up make more sense being brought up earlier in the story? In my opinion, here at Chats and Chapters, Caitlyn Howarth as an editor, it's a very collaborative experience. It is your story. It should reflect you and not only your editor's suggestions. So I'm not the editor for you if you just want to go through and accept every single change and not dig deeper into your manuscript and answer the questions that I'm asking to clarify for the readers, because that's why I'm asking. I'm asking because if it's causing me to pause, it's probably going to cause a reader to pause. And that is not really what we want. We want them engaged in it. We want them to continue flipping the pages. We don't want them to have to, we want them to think, obviously, but we don't want them to think for a reason other than, oh my gosh, I want to know what's happening. So it's a very collaborative experience. And that's my purpose. That is my goal. So the fourth reason I am not the editor for you is that you want the cheapest and quickest editor. I'm not the most expensive. I am by no means the most expensive book editor that I have seen, but I'm also not the cheapest. I have seen rates cheaper than mine, and it is what it is. So every editor brings their best to the manuscripts that they work on, and they charge what they feel comfortable charging. So that is with the caveat of the horror stories that I have heard from clients. An incredibly cheap editor on like some websites, you might get very, very terrible feedback. So that's with that caveat. As I previously stated, I spend a lot of time in my author's stories. Spend a lot of time. I will spend hours finalizing a style sheet and writing my editorial letter and then staring at my computer, racking my brain, trying to see if I've missed anything, if I forgot anything. Like I check all of my documents, make sure all my notes I have in there, check my iPad notes, all of that. And I will literally I finished a copy edit a couple weeks ago now, and I had it all done. I had all my notes. I had the style sheet. So I just had to go through and finalize it, make sure everything was organized. I really like for everything to look pretty. I'm a Virgo. It's in my blood. And I took 4 hours to finalize a style sheet, write an editorial letter, and just like stare at my computer and think, am I forgetting anything? Am I forgetting? I don't think so. I don't think so. So like when I say I'm not the most expensive and I'm not the cheapest, best know that I work my ass off for all of these manuscripts because I love them and I spend a lot of time. I really do. It takes up a lot of brain power. Like I said, I've heard horror stories from clients paying little to nothing for editing and they get very little useful feedback on their story. So I'm not the editor if you want the cheapest and the quickest, and you can't expect to get race car performance if you only pay for a Prius, in my opinion. Am I saying that the cheaper editors than me are terrible? No, I'm sure they give it their all. So the fifth and final reason that I am not the editor for you is you do not want a relationship with your editor. I am not the editor for you, okay? I am obsessed with my authors and their stories. And when I say obsessed, I literally mean absolutely obsessed. I have emailed clients weeks after I've sent their manuscript back with an idea because it popped in my head. Because I was laying in bed and I'm like, ooh, nice sweet Caitlyn dreams. Wait, what about that one sentence where he says that? Okay. Yeah, that could be a thing. I got to email her in the morning and I send them an email and I'm like, I can't not share it. Maybe this is helpful. Maybe it's not. Like, I don't know any other way to live. I don't know any other way to live. I have emailed with a client over their book cover. Like, if you want my opinion, I'll give you my opinion. Like, it's like I said, with the story, with the book cover, it's always up to you. It's your book. But if you ask for my opinion, I'm going to give you my input. I feel honored that you want my opinion on your book cover. Absolutely. Give me a sneak peek. It's also very nice to have my eyeballs for like spacing and font because sometimes that can be a little wonky on covers, and these are some keen blue eyes I got going on here, okay? So, yeah, if you just want your book edited and that's that, and you want it very transactional and done and never speak to me again, I'm probably going to cry. So, I'm not the book editor for you if you do not want any type of relationship with your editor. I love the stories. I love the authors. I've worked with some amazing human beings with some of the greatest brains in storytelling. I'm just so lucky, so grateful. I love it. And yeah, that I think wraps up today's episode. So those are the 5 reasons that I am not the book editor for you. If you're like, wow, actually, I need all of those things. That sounds great. I think you're the perfect book editor for me. You can go into the description and apply to work with me, whether you're following and watching on YouTube or if you're on Spotify or Apple Music. The link to work with me will always be in the show notes in the description. Somewhere it'll be there, I promise. And yeah, I would love to work with you if you are in need of a book editor. If you are not, but you know someone who is, send them my way. It's my favorite thing on the planet. And thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Chats and Chapters podcast. Once again, I am your host, Caitlyn Howarth. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Follow the podcast, follow the Chats and Chapters YouTube channel, and I will see you next time.